Today we have a 2006 Honda CR-V. We're replacing all 4 mounts, transmission, engine, and the 2 under as well. So starting with the mount to the closest to the firewall here, closer to the rear, we're going to use a number 17 to remove this bolt here. And then after we remove that, we're going to remove 3 number 14 bolts here. And we'll be able to slide this out the way. So after removing those 4 bolts, 1 here and the 3 below, just slide it out. And now we'll go ahead and slide our new one in. Also be sure to support the transmission while doing so. Alright y'all, so after I slipped the old mount out, I just slid this one in and then threaded the bolts in. As you can see, I actually changed my support here from the transmission jack to a T-bar here, just so I can have more of a pinpoint area to lift on. I highly recommend getting this bolt threaded in before you do these. It's kind of a pain. I actually had to switch it up and take these out and put this in first. So once you get those threaded in, you can go ahead and thread these in as well. I had to use a pry bar on the side here, kind of shift it over to help thread it in evenly. So now that I've done this, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these down first, and then tighten these down with all of my impact gun. And then after that, we'll switch to the front mount over there. So now we're on the front mount here. I have my T-bar in place right here, basically pinpointing support onto it here. It's held in place by 3 17s, 1 here, 1 above right up there, and then obviously this one here. So the best way to get to those bolts is with an extension from here, right in front of the fan of the radiator, and just use an extension to get these out here. So let's get those 3 bolts removed and then we'll slip it out. All right, also I've removed the 3 bolts holding this mount in place. So now I just slide it out. But before I do so, I just want to give you a little FYI. There is this little nut attached right here by this little bottom piece right there. As you can see, you can move it up and down, just holds it in place. But let's go ahead and slide this out. So we're just gonna kind of work this out right here. And then the same way we remove this one out, we'll slide our new one in the same exact way. So let's get the new one in, and then we're gonna first thread the bolt holding it in the center first, and then the 2 that holds the transmission. All right, also we have our new mount in place now. Go ahead and release my T-bar here. So I threaded this in first, then the other 2, and then impact these 2, or just this bottom one, and then using a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, tighten the other one, and then use my impact for this last. So now that we've done all the mounts on the bottom, we're gonna go ahead up top and do the other 2. All right, also now that we're on the top side of the vehicle here, we'll start with the engine mount over here on the right side or front of the engine. As you can see, the mount's right there. It's held down by 3 bolts to the chassis, 1 to this bracket right here to the engine, and then a bolt to the engine and a nut to the engine. So first thing we're gonna do, we obviously have to get clearance to it. So we're gonna go ahead and just get the power steering reservoir out the way. Pretty much just pushing this back tab and sliding it up and just kind of getting it out the way to work. So you can get all those bolts on there. They're held in place by 3 number 14s. And then I believe the 2 nuts, I thought that was a bolt, sorry. The 2 nuts on top, I believe those are 17s, as well as this bolt here, 17. So 3 17s and 3 14s. But before we actually even take them off, make sure to support the engine with a jack block of wood under the oil pan. So now that all that's secured and ready to go, we'll go ahead and start removing this. Also, there's a ground wire with 10mm right there. Be sure to put that back. It's very important for the car. Be sure to put that back when reinstalling. So as you can see, I have the old mount removed, broken from the top right there. So if yours is broken the same way, that nut will just spin, but it's fine because it comes out with the bracket. So now I'm gonna go ahead and slide the new one in right here. It only goes one way, obviously, so no worries on having to do orientation and stuff. So just slide it in, pulling the reservoir, the power steering reservoir forward a little bit. So now I got this in. Let's see, rotate it a little bit. There we are. So now it's set in. I'm just gonna go ahead and thread those 14mm in and hit it with my impact gun, then throw the bracket back on. All right, also our brackets back in, as well as our ground wire there, ground cable. When tightening this down, be sure to go around completely doing so, starting with here, and then working our way around. It will shift a little bit, so mainly shifting here, so just make sure everything's tightened down. So now that's done, go ahead and get everything back together, sliding this back in, and then lowering the vehicle from the jack. So now that this side's done, go ahead and do the transmission mount. All right, y'all, so to do the transmission mount, first thing we're gonna do is just like we did with the engine side. We're gonna use our floor jack here with a block of wood to jack under the transmission pan, just to keep it even. Once we do that with number 10, we're gonna get the battery out the way, disconnect it completely, remove it from here, and get it out the way so that we can get that center bolt there. We may have to move the fuse box over here. I'm gonna try not to, just gonna use an extension. Hopefully I won't have to, but pretty much just pull these tabs inward and pull up to get that out the way. But I'm gonna try to not do it that way, or to remove the air cleaner box here. So we're gonna just remove the battery and then get our way in there. I believe the same thing, it's just gonna be number 14s and number 17, but we'll double check once we get in there. So now that the battery is removed, as you can see, the little platform for the battery here will kind of obstruct this bolt. So we're gonna have to remove 3 bolts, 1 there and 2 over there, holding this in place. They are number 12s. I believe there's only 3. Let me double check, make sure nothing on the bottom, but for the most part, I believe that's what's holding it. As well, these little tabs you're gonna have to pull out the way that hold the negative and positive terminals on here. So let's get this out the way so we can clear this out. All right, y'all, so I've removed the 3 17mm bolts holding the mount to the chassis here. I did have to just get this out the way in order to get down to that bolt with my extension. Just pretty much pull this tab out, pull it up, and just go to the side. So I've removed that bolt down there, as well as these 2 here. For this, they are 2 more bolts holding this on the side, but for our purpose, we won't need to get to that. We just remove these 3 here, just kind of push it to the side like so. And I've already loosened this, so we can go ahead and just push it down, pull all the way out. All right, and now let's remove this out the way. So we'll just work this out and get it out of there. So I have my new mount in here with my 3 bolts to the chassis threaded in, and I already went ahead and impacted this center bolt in already. So now that I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten everything down to the chassis here. Starting with here, or doesn't really matter really, starting center and then working around. Once I do that, I'll go ahead and put this back with those 3 12mm bolts here, so we can reinstall the battery and we'll be done. All right, y'all, battery's reinstalled, everything's reinstalled, this is put back on. So now we're done, all of our mounts are finished. So thanks for watching, y'all. Please like and subscribe, more videos to come.